I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
We are talking about Pixar's Soul this week. And the reason we're doing this movie this week is because as this episode is being released, Soul is actually getting released into theaters. Looks like Disney has realized their mistake and reversing some of Chapek's decisions by giving the Pixar movies that they sent directly to Disney Plus the theatrical run that they should have gotten to begin with. Soul will be going into theaters on January 12th. Turning Red will be going into theaters February 9th. And Luca on March 22nd. We have done episodes on Turning Red and Luca. You can go back to those episodes if you like, if you haven't listened to them already. And yes, we are now doing Soul. This movie came out 2020, and this was already delayed because of the pandemic. Like, all of the theaters were shut down. Very few movies were going into theaters, and the few movies that did release during that 2020, that most of 2020 didn't really make a lot of money because people were just not ready to go back into theaters yet. And looking at the numbers from the last few years, some people still aren't ready to go back into theaters. Because if you look at the numbers of even the big hits like Mario and Barbie and Oppenheimer, not really getting the numbers that movies of the same caliber were getting 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you look at the credits, it says things like, this movie was completed in households 6 feet away from each other, I mean, this movie was also completed partially during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, this is one of the Disney movies that they had to do some of the final animation and editing during lockdown.
Putting this movie directly on Disney Plus, I understand, because there were a couple of other movies that also, not just from Disney, but from other studios, that were going directly to streaming services because theaters were closed down. And your mileage may vary on that. But even if this movie had gone into theaters Christmas 2020, I don't think this would have gotten the numbers. People were just not ready to go back into theaters at the time. Maybe they should have waited 6 months and released it then, but who knows? I mean, we're kind of getting that now. Movies were delayed 6 to 8 months because of the strikes. But I'm just glad that these movies are getting the theatrical runs that they should have gotten to begin with. And I mean, there was a lot of complaining over the decision to put them on streaming because it was specifically the Pixar movies that were going to streaming and not the Walt Disney Pictures animated movies. I mean, even Spies in Disguise got a theatrical run. And granted, that was right after granted, that probably was already a pre-established contract with Fox and the theater chains, but Disney allowed that to go through. But not, the Pixar movies. With the exception of Lightyear.
I'm going to be honest, and I mean, spoiler for the big question at the end, but I honestly think that coming out on streaming was better for this film because had I gone to a theater to see this, I would have been a lot angrier at this movie. But the fact that, I turned on streaming and I watched it and I went, nah, and then I went and watched something else, I think made me slightly kinder to this film.
Mm. Plus, you can kind of pause it and if or whatever. But like, I like the idea of the movie, whether it was executed well, we'll get into it. But the idea of the concept of a soul, where we come from, where we go, and using that as a basis of a movie, what makes us us, is a great concept. But I don't know if that would work for a Disney family movie, especially when they do their best to tiptoe around any religious connotations with the afterlife. They mention heaven and hell, but they never mention any specific religion or even mention God. So again, your own preference on that. I will let you decide that. And I kind of respect them taking the general concept of the afterlife and the before life and trying to make that a movie without trying to make it about any particular religion. But it also feels like they could have gone further with it, but I don't know if a Disney family animated movie had the guts to do that.
Overall, I like the cast. There's a lot of people in here I like. I'm generally a fan of Tina Fey.
Mm-hmm.
You have like some really good appearances by like Graham Norton. Rachel House is back. And we like her. We've talked about her before, of course.
I mean, I just saw What If, and she was amazing.
Yeah, she's back in the second season of What If, which is great.
Well, she had more lines in the one episode she was in than that she had in the entirety of Ragnarok.
Yeah. Um, she's really good in this. And then of course you've got like um Richard Ayoade and Questlove and Angela Bassett shows up and Felicia Rashad and so I mean I think Fortune Feimster's in this as well. So there's lots of really cool people in this movie, but I do not like the quote unquote moral of this movie. And it grates on me.
I mean, the name, the thing is in the title, Soul. We have our main character Joe, who has kind of had the worst luck in terms of following his dreams. His dream is to be a jazz musician and make that his career. Hasn't exactly gone that way, to the point of him being a music teacher to pay the bills. And when he finally gets his big break, he dies.
Well, he ends up in a coma. He's supposed to die, but he's in that limbo state of his body is in the hospital in a coma and his soul is heading toward the afterlife and he's like, haha, no.
I ain't dying like this. As he says, I ain't dying before I got a chance to live.
Yeah, I just got my big break and I'm not going out like this. And he, in trying to escape the afterlife, he ends up in the before life. And they mistake him for a mentor to unborn souls. I guess that's the way to put it. Normally, a mentor is like
A famous person.
a really famous or influential person who has done great deeds. You know, they talk about like Gandhi and Mother Teresa and,
Abe
you know,
Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln and Aristotle and, you know, all these kind of, they help souls find their spark so that they're ready to go down to Earth and live. Joe accidentally gets paired up, he picks up a random name tag, and because of that, they think he's a different soul that is meant to be there, and he gets paired up with Tina Fey's 22, who has been there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years and hasn't earned her Earth pass to go down to Earth because she hasn't found her spark of life
Yeah,
yet.
the souls are all given a number before they're sent to Earth to be born, and we've got these long numbers for the new souls, and she is number 22. She is literally the 22nd soul put into existence. The amount of people that have lived and died since creation, you can kind of figure it out how long she's been there.
She's very stubborn and she doesn't want to go down to Earth because she rightfully realizes that Earth is a crap show. Um, and she's like, you know what? Hey, it's kind of great up here. I got my thing I can do. I can just chill out. There's no pain up here. I can do whatever I want. And
But you
uh
also, you don't feel anything. You can't eat anything. You can't, basically the things that make life worth living don't exist in the before life.
I mean, she's got a point.
I'm not arguing with 22, but like, eh,
I mean, the movie wants us to argue with 22, but I have a feeling that this movie was written by a bunch of able people with decent lives. So, you know,
hmm.
screw them. But anyway, she's just like, nah, this place is kind of chill. There's no pain or suffering here, and Earth seems like, really crappy, and it's loud and full of nonsense, and I'll just stay here, thank you. And based.
Hmm.
So, um, go 22. Joe is like, hey, if I find you your spark, I can steal your Earth pass and go back to Earth and you know do my gig and have my dream. And through a series of shenanigans, they end up meeting Graham Norton.
Yeah, they end up going into the zone. Basically, if you've ever done something and you zone out and you get into whatever it is you're doing, your soul goes to the zone where your body's kind of on automatic and you've for lack of a better term, you reach nirvana. And it's not
Um,
just musicians, it's athletes, it's pretty much anything. And as 22 says, she likes to screw with them to get them.
I like that she goes in there and she throws rocks at like the basketball player, and she's like, I've been screwing with this team for years, and then it's like, oh, the Knicks lose again.
That is
I,
that is a great joke, though.
I'm not even a sports person, and I found that funny. And then it's also, there's like the dark side of it where it's the souls that become so disconnected from life that they become lost souls. And we see one that's just like trade, trade, and then you find out that it's like some kind of stockbroker dude, and his life is so awful because all he does is stonks, and
Yeah,
he's just
when
become this horrible gray monster.
lost the will to live.
Yeah.
As they say, once you become disconnected from what makes your life living, you become a lost soul.
Yeah.
But, this poor guy is stuck in a dead-end job doing the same monotonous thing every day for who knows how long. His will to live is just non-existent until they help him find his spark, as it were, to live again. And he's just, I'm free. I don't have to do this anymore.
And then he just wrecks that office, which again, based. So if you happen to be stuck in a job that works with stonks, do that. Just wreck the office. You will be doing the universe a favor. But yeah, I love the idea of the Graham Norton character. The like Moonbeam or whatever he's called, Moonwind or
Moonwind, yeah. And his zen, his reason for living, the thing he does better than anyone is just he stands on a street corner and spins a sign for a store. And I kind of get it. It's like it's not the greatest job in the world. It's not a glorious job, but it's something he can do really, really well, and he likes doing it. I can respect that, even if you are in there are people who have dreams that don't exactly lead to fortune and fame. They just want to do this one thing that makes them happy. And for Moonwind, it's just spinning this sign on this street corner. That's his job, and that makes him happy, and he gets into the zone.
I really need to talk about some of my issues with this movie. Because you were talking about how you don't think this could have ever been a mainline Disney movie.
No, and that's not what I meant. I meant there's a lot of the philosophies of souls and where we're coming from. I mean, again, trying to do that without the religious connotations to it. But I don't think this movie goes far enough with it because it's tied to the Disney Corporation. Like, if it was a different studio and if it wasn't, I hate saying it, if this wasn't marketed as a family movie, it could have gone further with the concept.
Well, I think you're on the right track, but I think you're slightly on a parallel track.
All right, go for it.
Because I think that the thing that I'm like, okay, this needed to be a Pixar movie instead of a mainline Disney animation, is because I think this is the first Disney movie, quote unquote, that's like, we talk about like Pixar's like, what if blank had feelings? But this is less what if souls had feelings as what if dreams didn't matter? And that, I've made jokes before about like, well, I kind of wish Disney had a bit more realistic, thing, because maybe like our generation would have grown up with a little less trauma. But now that I've seen it in a film version, I realize that no, I do not want that. I was very wrong. I rescind all of my previous statements. That was bad of me to say. This is an awful moral. Cause let's just go ahead and skip ahead. If you haven't seen the movie and you're listening to us like rehash the plot, stop it and watch the movie if you care. I don't think it matters. But like, kind of the whole thing of this movie is like him being like, our main character's like, I have to get back to Earth so I can have my big shot. And then he has his big shot and he's like, that was very unfulfilling. The point of life is just to like live life. And you kind of hit on it with the Moonwind thing. Like, and I'm not knocking Moonwind, okay? Part of my like philosophy is that if people's needs were met, like if everybody just had, like, food and shelter and, the basic survival needs, people would find happiness doing all kinds of stuff. Like, not everybody wants to have the standard rich and famous contract. That's not everybody's dream. Nor should it be.
Mm.
I'm not saying, people find their happiness wherever they want. Some people would like to just spend the rest of their life gardening. Some people want to be, a great musician. Some people want to teach others. Some people, want to, be a parent. Some people want, everybody's got their own version of what a fulfilling life looks like, and they should. And I support that. Okay? But the point of this movie just seems to be like, go with the flow and whatever happens to you, equally fine, which is a really crappy capitalist version of nonsense. And I do not like it.
Like Joe here says, I was born to play music. It's my spark. It's my reason for existence. And he gets told by the Jerrys, our angel substitute in this movie. Told him, no, that's not what a spark is at all. There's no destiny. There is no meant for anything. You just discovered that through your life, and that's not what a spark is. A spark isn't a reason for being, a purpose in life. There's no purpose in life. You humans create your own, you humans create their own destiny. There's not one plotted out for them. Also, when we get to the barbershop, where they mentioned that the barber, you were born to cut people's hair. And he says, no, I wasn't. My dream was to be a veterinarian. I just became a barber because barber school was cheaper than veterinarian school, and I have a family to feed. But I'm good at it. I get to talk to a lot of people every day, and it makes me happy. So the idea, this kind of it's very much anti-Disney. It kind of throws the idea of destiny and purpose and meant to be right out the window. Fundamentals of the Disney fantasy movies. So I can understand why some people may not like that idea, that there is no purpose to life. You just live. That there is no great destiny. You just live. Like 22, when she's in Joe's body, she finds the spark of life, just living life. I could look at the sky. I'm good at that. I could walk. I'm good at that. And then Joe kind of says, well, that's just living. That's not a purpose. That's not a spark. That's not destiny. That's just living. Which ends up being the moral. Just live. Don't worry about a destiny. Don't worry about a purpose. Don't worry about any of that. Just live your life to the fullest that you can. Which, on paper, is a great moral. Live life to the fullest. But as you said, the movie is also telling you your dream does not matter. Whatever destiny you think exists for yourself, whatever purpose in life you have for yourself, your destiny, your whatever, doesn't exist and does not matter. Again, flying in the face of what we've been taught to all these past Disney movies for the past 100 years.
But let's go back to the barber, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. I think that people can be good at multiple things,
Mhm.
like extremely competent at multiple things. And I do think that people can find, some sort of enjoyment, pleasure, fulfillment in multiple things. Okay? But let's take a look at the barber. Now, he's a good barber, okay? And he does seem to be getting some enjoyment and fulfillment out of his life, okay? And that's good. He was denied the thing he wanted to do because barber school was cheaper. Do you see what I mean? We
Mhm.
don't know if, as good a barber he is, maybe he would have been the world's best veterinarian. He might have cured cancer in animals.
Mhm.
You know? Maybe dogs would live for 50 years if that guy had become a veterinarian. We have no idea because barber school was cheaper and he had a family to take care of.
Mhm.
Now, maybe he is happier as a barber. Maybe he was never meant to be a veterinarian. We don't know. Because the point is, he was denied the opportunity to try. If the point of the movie had been, I tried a thing and I discovered, like, oh, I was wrong. I actually enjoy option B more, then that's a different moral. You know? The thing I thought I wanted is not the thing I wanted, you know? And there have been, movies, even Disney movies, that have kind of gone through that. I mean, you can argue that Frozen is kind of like that, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
The thing is that it's trying to make the moral like, and I understand kind of the point of they're using jazz and improvisation and kind of go with the flow. But it's just kind of like accept whatever happens to you. And I think that that's like a really toxic thing to teach people.
The movie is also about obsession. As 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 Moonwind says, when happiness becomes obsession, one becomes disconnected from life. It's what starts the path down to a lost soul. And we kind of see that with Joe with his obsession over jazz music. And he's been obsessed with jazz music since he was a child, when his dad took him to a nightclub that played jazz music. And even everyone around him says, all you talk about is jazz music. And when 22 is in his body and starts talking about philosophy and life, life philosophy, then people actually start getting to know him, getting to know Joe more. He starts to know more about the people around him. This is why he learns that the barber wanted to be a veterinarian at first. He starts to just, you know, let go of that obsession and just talk about something else, literally anything else. I mean, we all know that one person that talks about the one thing he says while he's talking about a Disney podcast. And that's a something that Joe has to learn is that, and like you said, when you finally, sometime when you reach that peak, that there's no joy, there's no happiness. Like you said, with when he finally got his dream of being in that jazz gig and doing what he loves on stage, he felt nothing. He finally accomplished his dream of being in a jazz band, and they offered him the position. You're in the band, you're a permanent member of the band, and he just felt nothing. And I love the analogy that the singer gives him about the fish. The fish wants to go to the ocean, And the other fish says, well, what do you think you're in? Now, this is just water. I want to be in the ocean. The movie is also trying to teach the viewer that it's okay to like something. Just don't make it your obsession, or you could also miss out on life. I think it's not told as eloquently as they think it's being told, because like you said, it does have a sour taste when that moral finally comes into play. And maybe that was intentional, but it doesn't, no offense, it wasn't very entertaining. I'm going to be honest, I've seen this movie a few times, and the worst offense a movie can be is boring. Not bad, because a bad movie can still be entertaining for the wrong reasons, but entertaining.
Yeah, at least you can, like, riff on it and stuff.
Yeah,
You can't even do that to this movie.
You can't. The worst thing a movie can be is boring. The first hour of this movie is so boring. And this is only from from the start of the movie, the start of the opening credit, that Disney logo with the school band playing When You Wish Upon a Star. Perfect intro, by the way.
Oh, I will say, this movie is really great because if you are an actual, like, band teacher and your band is not very good and you want them to play When You Wish Upon a Star, you can always say that you're doing it in the style of Soul and you can get away with it, which,
Yeah.
awesome.
From that point all the way to the end, the beginning of the end credits is 90 minutes. An hour of the movie is boring. And honestly, this movie feels like it's in half an hour too long. And when I'm saying that about a 90-minute Disney movie, that's saying something.
Yeah, I will say that, and I hate to say it because I hate this trope and we've already talked about it in other movies, especially like Princess and the Frog.
Oh, I was getting to that one. Yeah,
Oh yeah, no,
let's go. Let's go.
yeah, let's go. But,
I mentioned Spies in Disguise.
yep, this is another movie where the black character spends a lot of the movie not being in their own body.
Not being a human body, at least.
And or not being a human body. I mean, he spends a lot of the movie being a soul, and then when he gets back to Earth, he spends most of the time being a cat. Because shenanigans. And the soul voiced by the white woman ends up in his body learning all the, stuff and, oh, hey, look at me, I'm learning morals and stuff. Which,
At least when we get the characters from the outside perspective of everyone around them, Joe still sounds like Jamie Foxx. The cat sounds like a cat. But when we're in these characters' own perspectives, Joe sounds like Tina Fey and the cat sounds like Jamie Foxx. So I like that it's not just, all of a sudden people are wondering why this tall black man sounds like a white woman. It's just the perspective that we're in for the movie. So at least it's smart enough to explain that away, but it's still, the black lead is not human for most of the movie. Like I said, like in Princess and the Frog, like in Spies in Disguise, even though Spies in Disguise didn't become a Disney movie until long after it was completed. But yeah, there's that trope that a lot of people hate. That when the main character of color doesn't get to be a human for most of the movie.
yeah, I don't particularly like it, but I hate to say it, the bit where it's, that the body swap thing with the cat, I hate to say it, but that's the most interesting and entertaining part of the film.
And that's an hour into the movie.
Yeah. And it's not most of the movie, but it has the best kind of jokes and stuff.
Hmm.
And it's more interesting. I don't like the trope of like, oh, here's the lead of color and now they're, some animal or whatever. But at least the jokes and the like fresh perspective on Earth and living in a human body and stuff, that kind of stuff is at least funny-ish compared to the rest of the movie. And, people's reaction to like, what is this weird cat doing is kind of funny.
Mm.
Like when you see it from other people's perspective and the cat's just like, and they're like, what is up with the cat?
Mm.
That's kind of funny compared to the rest of the movie. But it's still not great compared to like most other Pixar movies or, whatever. But compared to the rest of its own movie internally, that is the best part of the movie.
Like I said, that's an hour into a 90-ish minute movie.
Yeah.
And that's bad. Like the first, you could condense the first hour of this movie down by half an hour and really miss nothing.
I
It's
mean, a
like,
lot of it is just over and over 22 going like how she annoyed various historical figures. And that could have been like a 3-minute montage. But
yeah.
they keep going back to it over and over and over again.
I guess it's to show how much it affected 22. So when we get to the big climax where 22, spoiler, 22 becomes a lost soul, and in her own little tornado of anxiety and grief and depression, all of her former mentors, including Joe, talking her down. You don't deserve to go to Earth. You're impossible to deal with. Your dream is just to live. That's lame. So it's like, I get it that it's to explain 22 as a character, but that could have just been, like you said, that could have been cut down so much. While Rachel House is good in the role of Terry, this movie focuses on Terry too much. Terry's obsession with fixing the count because a soul got away.
Well, other than that, we don't have any sort of villain, which we've talked before about, New Disney not really having villains.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry is the closest thing we have to a villain in the film, which honestly, while I like her performance, you're right that it's kind of, I guess we needed some stakes, but it also could have been like, if you don't reunite with your body by, midnight at the stroke of, you could have done the Cinderella glass slipper thing or something.
Or even freaking the all dogs go to heaven thing. Touch that clock and you can never come back. Like once you leave, for lack of a better term, heaven, you can't go back.
Yeah, I mean, you could do any number of things that didn't involve, a character, a time limit or some kind of MacGuffin or, you have to make it to this doorway before, whatever. But, I mean, and the thing is, I did like Terry as a character. Like
Terry
how
is very much
obsessed.
the number obsessed character, the very egotistical. Oh, we fixed the count, and Terry, we're gonna give you this trophy that you insisted we give you.
I love that Terry insisted on the trophy. That's so great. Thank you for this trophy that I insisted on.
And again, for all the problems that the person of color not being a human for most of the movie has, 22 getting the chance to live, even if it's through Joe's body, is actually entertaining. This character that has denied or has resisted going to Earth to live, accidentally getting a chance to live and loving life and finding their spark that way is an interesting idea. You know, the person that never wanted to live, who never found their spark in the before life, finds their spark of life just living life. Their will to live is found just by living, which is an interesting idea. I just wish that it had been implemented earlier in the movie and not an hour into it.
Yeah, this movie is like 3 movies in one because it keeps changing text like throughout.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that possibly my favorite thing of like 22 ending up on Earth is that they establish that there is no sensory information really in the before life. You know, you don't have a sense of touch or smell or taste or anything. So, when 22 gets to Earth and has the meltdown and is like, nope, I'm just gonna stay huddled here until your body dies. Um, the thing that Joe does in the cat's body is go steal a slice of pizza and bring it to 22 and is like, here, eat this. And then 22's like, okay, this is awesome. I like pizza.
And I'm no longer angry anymore.
Yeah. Um, but I will say, having had New York pizza, fair.
As you say to the Chicagoan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if this had been set in Chicago and he brought her a slice of Chicago pizza, that would not have worked. Because Chicago
Uh-huh.
pizza is awful.
Uh-huh. Thank you for joining us on the final episode Rewatching the Magic, folks. Sorry,
I
no.
stand by it. Chicago pizza is the worst thing ever. It is tomato sauce in a bread bowl, and I do not like it.
The big emotional moment here is Joe's own confrontation with his mother. And, you know, that opening part of the movie where his mother is saying, you know, you can finally get rid of that silly fantasy of wanting to be a famous musician and get a real job as a teacher. They're giving you a full-time position as a teacher, benefits, pension, health, you know, health benefits, pensions, the whole nine. And that's not what he wants to do. That's not the life he wants to live. He just wants to play in front of an audience and just entertain. And that big moment. Now, granted, I think the emotional moment would have been better if 22 wasn't really repeating what Joe is telling her in the cat body. But when they switch to the mother's POV and it's just Joe with Jamie Foxx's voice telling her, "Hey, all my life you shut me down from my dream, and now I have the chance to actually do something that I want to do, live my life the way I want to live it, and you're shooting me down." It's a great emotional moment, and I'm glad that they switched the perspective that it's Jamie Foxx saying those lines and not Tina Fey. All respect to Tina Fey. All respect to Tina Fey. But it's still it's Joe saying these words in that scene from looking at it through his mother's perspective and not 22 saying these words, even though that's what it is.
The thing is that you kind of have to wonder, like, if she had been more supportive of her son, Might he have had an easier time of it?
Maybe. And from the mother's perspective, you can kind of get her perspective on it, that his dad spent his entire life trying to have the same dream, and in the end her little tailor shop was the only thing making money for the family, and she doesn't want her son going down the same path, even though that's the path he wants to go down. That's his dream. Just all he wanted was his mother to support him in his dream. And he even says, it's my reason for living. Being a musician is all he's ever wanted to do in his whole life, and now he's gets this chance, and his mother is just disappointed in him. And again, it's a great scene. It's probably one of the best scenes in the movie. And like I said, you have that point, is that had his mother been more supportive of his dream, would they be having that conversation in that moment? Even if he never had gotten that dream gig, or ever once got close to having that dream fulfilled, would he be complaining about it now? Would he be feeling like he's going nowhere being a teacher? I say to the teacher.
The thing is that he finally gets a shot at his job because of a former student who believes in him. America has this really toxic idea of, like, just get out there and make it on your own, bootstraps and blah, 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 But that's not true. No, nobody does anything on their own. He gets his chance because a former student really believes in him and gets him the hookup. I think that's important, that, it shows that guy going to bat for him.
But yeah, to have his former student call him out of the blue, hey, we need a piano player for this gig. Can you make it? And then doing the audition and blowing the singer away, you're in. Sometimes you just need people to look out for you. And not everybody has that. Let's be real. Not everybody has the connection. There's the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it is true. Sometimes you just need that connection to get an in, to get to that next level. And for him, for Joe, it was one of his students.
And the thing about it is, just like that student believed in him and got him the job and stuff, I just wonder if he had the support of, his mom and the guys at the barber shop, or, whatever.
The other seamstresses.
Yeah. If he would, have made it further earlier.
Possibly. And in a way, he kind of does the same thing with one of his students, who shows great promise playing the trombone. And he tries to encourage her, even when she gets into the zone herself, and she's ashamed of it because she's like the only good player in the school band. Even coming to his house to quit because she doesn't feel that she's good enough. 22 in Joe's body doesn't really say anything. If anything, she's agreeing with her, like, yeah, life sucks, kid. I am agreeing with you. You should not even try. Don't even bother. Life sucks. But the kid's not even listening to what she's saying. She's just saying, getting all of her frustrations out, and said, oh yeah, I'm going to keep playing because I'm good at it. That's a nice little note there, because sometimes all you need is someone to listen. And that does go back to that conversation that 22 Joe has with the mom, is he just wanted his mom to listen to him. Yes, support him, but just wanted to listen too, to listen to what he had to say. And I get that's part of the moral in the movie. Life sucks, but you keep going. Whether that is a good part of the moral or not, I will leave that up to you. Through all of this, through all this entire adventure, 22 finds her spark. She has lived life, and she is ready. She has completed her Earth badge. She can go to Earth at any time she wants and live life. And it is that third act heel turn of Joe saying, you only have the spark because I had the spark. You stole my life. You don't deserve this, which only adds to 22's own insecurities of not being good enough to go to Earth. She succeeds in finding her spark, and it's taken away from her. I mean, imagine that. Imagine you have succeeded in the thing that you have been trying to do for however long, and it's taken away from you because someone said you weren't good enough. That has to hurt. But luckily, Joe does see the error in his ways and gives her back the bag, saying, "You deserve a chance to live." And it's a great moment, and they give the Jerrys give him that chance. Hey, you didn't have to do that, and you did it, and we're giving you a second chance to live. And he says, "I'm going to live my life to the fullest," and that's kind of where the movie ends. Like there's no epilogue here. He gets another chance to live. He says he's going to live his life to the fullest, and then the movie ends. Like, does he continue to work with the band? Does he go back to being a teacher? Does he do anything? We don't know because the movie never tells us. He just goes out of his apartment, says he's going to live life to the fullest, and that's it. I feel if you had taken a little bit back, like I said, the movie doesn't really get going until the hour mark. If we had cut some of that back and give us like a 5 to 10 minute epilogue of what Joe does, or even seeing Baby 22, that would have ended the movie on a little more of a positive spin. Because to me, the movie just ends.
Which also, to me, gives the idea that it doesn't matter what he does.
I understand that, and that's kind of the message of the movie. But like I said, that's not a very satisfactory, entertaining ending.
I agree.
Realistic ending, sure, but not entertaining. And part of a movie is to be entertaining. There's a lot of great concepts in this movie. It's just held back by so much. I've seen a lot of other movies that pull off the themes in this movie so much better. All Dogs Go to Heaven, Defending Your Life, Ghost, Heaven Can Wait, The Heavenly Kid, Being Human, Chances Are, Hello Again, What Dreams May Come, A Dog's Purpose, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. But Disney Family Movie really holds this movie back. And as much as I hate saying it, being animated holds this movie back because it is expected to be Disney Family Movie. If this was done by a different studio that can really go more into the concept of the afterlife and what makes us who we are and the spark of life and more of that stuff, that this would have been a more entertaining movie. But as this movie is, I've said it before in this podcast, this movie commits the worst cinema sin, and I'll say that word, as much as I don't like you to say it. The biggest sin this movie has is that it's boring. and a movie should never be boring. 2/3 of this movie is boring. And I hate saying it because I wanted this movie to be, because like I said, when I saw the trailers for this movie, when I heard of what this movie was about and the concepts in this movie, it all sounded really good. It just never reaches the potential that a movie like this could be. And that is disappointing.
I
Which,
am going to agree with all of that. I mean, yeah, the boredom is the biggest sin, and the second biggest sin is I just think that the moral, for lack of a better term, is just really antithetical to what Disney has built its brand on. And I know that everybody's going to be like, but it is Pixar. Shut up, it's Disney.
which kind of makes me afraid of how this is going to go over now that it's getting a theatrical release. Now, granted, there's probably people who like the movie as it is, and if that's you, great. And the idea of a movie being focused on jazz music and a jazz musician and a person of color in the lead, that might be enough for people. But I don't know if this movie having been on Disney Plus for the last 3 years, is there an audience who would see this movie on the big screen? We'll find out, because as of this recording, it hasn't been released in the theaters yet.
Yeah. I will say that I did like the music.
Yes, I
Because
will say that.
it's John Batiste doing the jazz pieces, and then Trent Reznor did the score, you know, the and I like the music that comes out of both those people, so yeah. The music is really good. I mean, the animation is also very good because the Pixar.
And each character looks unique, which I will give them credit for. No, even whether they are a human or they're a soul, they look unique, and you can identify each character just by their silhouette, which is always a plus in animation.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, it's not completely messed up, but I think it's just the story that fails.
Yeah. So, I mean, magic, man, I hate saying no.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. I hate to say it because I really wanted to like this one, but yeah, no magic.
Good luck for the theatrical run, Soul. You're gonna need it.
Yeah.
Of the three films, and we've covered the other two on the podcast. Of these three films, if you had to say which one of these movies would you watch in a theater, I would say Turning Red. Like, I would watch Turning Red over both. And I like Luca. Go back to our episode on Luca. It's just, of the three, if I had to choose one, yeah, I'd see Turning Red over both of these movies. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, same.
So yeah, and if you're one of those people who are going to see it in the theaters, more power to you. I probably will not.
Yeah, I'm definitely skipping this one in the theaters.
Hmm. Yeah, sorry for the downer, folks. But let's move on to next week. We are going to be taking a look at a classic movie, going back to the 80s, going back to the old Touchstone movies, Splash, the movie about the young mermaid girl who falls in love with the human, and I feel like we did this movie already.
Yeah, but this one has a butt, or at least it used to before Disney Plus covered it up.
Oh yeah, CGI hair over Daryl Hannah's butt. We get to complain about that. Is it still? It probably still there in the Disney Plus version.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one has Daryl Hannah, it has Tom Hanks, and it takes place in 1980 and not in fantasy Disney thing. So yeah, come back next week for Splash, and we will talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here. Join our conversations on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic. We are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, at Rewatch the Magic. And new episodes are available every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com. Remember, the magic is for everyone. It only stops if you let it. Podcasts are fun,
but there's work to be done.
We encourage you to get involved. Here are some organizations we support.
The American Civil Liberties Union fights for the constitutional rights of all Americans. Find them at aclu.org.
The National Network of Abortion Funds helps people find access to safe abortion services. Their site is abortionfunds.org.
The Trevor Project provides a 24/7 crisis helpline for LGBTQ youth and education services for schools on LGBTQ issues. They can be found at thetrevorproject.org.
Or find a way to help in your area.